Hello and welcome to the Peak Podcast. My name is Kyle Nelson. I've got my good friend, co-host, and business partner, Mr. Eli Libby.
Nice. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
How is your day going today, my man?
It's going really good. Really, really good. Yeah, I can't complain. It's been a great day. We've done some awesome little coaching calls.
Yes, sir.
Just had a couple really, really cool, just inspiring phone calls today.
Yes. Been a beautiful day.
Has been.
Great way to kick off 2025. We're looking really forward to the guests today. We had a great pre-call.
It was
I think
fun.
this is going to be even a better podcast.
Very fun.
But before that, if you're not familiar with the Peak Podcast, the Peak Podcast is all about interviewing other coaches, business owners, and entrepreneurs to understand what that peak moment was in their life where they felt like they were ready for some change. And what was the story behind that moment? And why was it a moment that they needed to take on and conquer? And outside of that, of course, we are the founders of Peak Fulfillment, where we do clarity solo retreats and mastermind programs where you go out in solitude by yourself on a solo retreat for 3 days and deal with that inner deeper work that you need to and dive into self-reflection, self-discovery, and vision crafting. But without further ado, let's bring on Jamie Turner, who is an internationally recognized speaker, author, professor, and CNN contributor. Jamie, welcome to the Peak Podcast.
Kyle, great to see you. Eli, great to see you too. Glad to be here. Can't wait to dive in and talk about everything that you've talked about so far in the preamble. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's like right up my alley. So we'll have a lot of fun.
Well, that's awesome, man. Yeah, super excited. Jamie, where are you based out of? We didn't talk about that.
I am based. I'm in the country about an hour north of Atlanta. So over my shoulder there, you see a lake. I live on a lake. I'm very lucky to have. Well, you know, the thing that you say now is I'm very fortunate, meaning I worked hard to get here. It wasn't just thrown in my lap. But yeah, and I am based basically out of Atlanta. I teach down at Emory University, and so that's about an hour drive in. But enjoying it. It's a wonderful environment, and deer walk right outside my door here. And then I'll pop in the boat occasionally, and then get enough in-town activity to kind of stay stimulated. And then also, because I'm teaching younger people, they keep you on your toes. They ask you interesting questions and thought-provoking things. So it's all good. I'm really enjoying it a lot.
Wow, that sounds beautiful.
It sounds like a beautiful
life. Man. Yeah, we gotta check it out. We'll have to come out.
Yeah, you're welcome to come out anytime. I'm not kidding you.
Okay, perfect. Go ahead and book that. Thank you.
Right.
Awesome, Jamie. Well, in just a few minutes, why don't you just kind of break down what's going on in your life today? What's your focus? What businesses do you have, and kind of where you're at?
Yeah, so I am an author, a speaker, and also teach, and my revenue streams are those three things. And it's wonderful. I basically really have been focusing more over the last maybe year, and I'll get personal here. My wife passed away a little over a year ago. And when you go through that, what happens is you do a lot of the self-exploration. So when you guys were talking about those solo retreats where you do the inner work, and the inner work is the foundation upon which you build all the outer success. I've been going through that a lot and going very deep on it. And not only working on learning how to be complete as a person who doesn't have a spouse, but also learning how to really explore how to be the best version of myself. And so it's really been a wonderful journey, not something I'd wish on many other people, but if you're going to have something kind of challenging happen to you, it's not a bad thing, because if you do the work, then you get to a deeper place and a more profoundly meaningful place as you enter into the world around you.
Couldn't agree more. That's beautiful. And our condolences to you. When you're doing speaking, your book, and teaching, what are some of the kind of categories and topics and kind of area of influence do you focus on?
Yeah. So the platform I have is called The Unspoken Rules of Leadership, and it just teaches people how to do a better job communicating, how to be more productive, how to manage stress, all of those things. And your listeners are interested in all of those things, including how to manage stress. There's 4 different categories that I kind of speak about: mindset, and then mentoring, how you talk one-on-one to people, management, which is how do you manage multiple people, and then marketing, which is your personal brand. How do you enter into a room? How do you command attention in a room? All that sort of stuff. The one that's most fascinating to me, and it relates a lot to what you guys talk about, is that first quadrant, which is mindset. What you think changes the way you act, and the way you act changes the outcomes in your life. So if you can control how you think, then you can control the actions that you take. You actually cannot control the outcomes, because that 3-step process, thinking, actions, which lead to outcomes, there's too many variables on the outcomes. And so you have to just let go of the outcome. But you do have control over how you think and also how you act. And if you use those two things and then start entering into things and try to let go of the outcome, then you end up being able to kind of navigate the world and the complexities of the world a little bit better. And by the way, yes, I am preaching to myself on that. I'm a control freak. And so I've been talking forever about you got to let go of the outcome and just go with the flow. And partly what I'm doing there is talking to myself, reminding myself that, hey, I can control 2 of these 3 things: thoughts, actions. You got to let go of the outcome. And I'm a work in progress on that front.
I couldn't agree more. The one thing that's helped me is trying to get in the mindset of I'm never going to know what the outcome is. Once you accept that you don't know what the outcome is, you have all these decisions. Which direction do I go? Well, if you go this direction, you're not ever going to know what the outcome is of the other one. So just choose the best of all those decisions that you feel like is a good flow to get into, like you were saying.
I Kyle, I agree with you, because if you look at it that way and just say, hey, this is what I can control. Again, my instincts are more controlling than being, letting go. So maybe control what you can control, thoughts and actions, and then train yourself to just let go of the outcome. But I love what you said there on that.
It's a hard one to do.
Tough one to do. Jamie, you've been doing this for a while now. What was the catalyst? What got you into this? Why are you so passionate about this kind of stuff?
I have always been entrepreneurial in nature, always wanted to start my own business.
Okay.
And in fact, when I did start my own business, basically I was working in the world of advertising and marketing. I got laid off, which happens to a lot of folks in advertising. The ad agency business is just that way. I knew at that moment, I was 28 years old, and I thought, I am either going to use this as a catalyst to go start my own agency, or I'm going to go jump on board with another agency and be on that career track. I had literally gotten an offer one day where I was making the decision, which of these 2 routes do I go? I got an offer from a very good agency to join the agency. And I knew if I decide not to do that, I am making a decision where I am going down the entrepreneurial path. I made that decision. This is a true story, by the way. I made that decision. And nervous as all get out, just like your listeners are nervous when they're thinking about all the startup stuff that they're going through and early stage stuff. But I made that decision. That night at a corporate event, I bumped into my older brother, who was also in the same industry I'm in. He literally walked up to me and he said, Jamie, I heard that you were debating about whether or not to take that job offer or start your own agency. And I'm here to tell you right now, and by the way, this is a true story. I'm here to tell you right now, if you decide to start your own agency, you will fail. And when you fail, I'm going to be the first person to come to you and say, I told you so. Those were his exact words. And I was sitting there going, oh my God, I just turned down that other job offer today. But it taught me fortitude, and it taught me, and by the way, I lied to him. And I said, yeah, no, I haven't turned down that other job offer. I lied blatantly. And, but it taught me that if you're going to make these decisions, because if you think about the startup world or the entrepreneurial world, you have to be effing crazy to do this, right? I mean, you're saying no to stability, predictability, insurance, all of that stuff. And you're saying no to that and taking this leap where 8 or 9 times out of 10 it fails, depending on what data you look at. And so I knew that, but you have to be a little bit, a little off in order to be an entrepreneur. But if you have that, you can do it. Now, I want to let you guys, get in a word edgewise here, but I will tell you the whole story. I went through 10 years of a very successful agency. We grew, we had good, it tanked at around 9/11. That sounds like that was the reason. The reason was because I should have been more cautious with money and stuff like that. So it was my fault. But when we went under, and I kind of merged with another agency, but it was a soft landing is basically what it was. I had a friend of mine reach out to me and he said, listen, and he was a business owner too. He said, I know you're just feeling horrible right now. I know you're just feeling just tired and exhausted and beat up, and you think it didn't work. But he said, let me tell you something. You did what everybody wants to do, which is to have the cojones to go out and say, I'm going to take a leap of faith and do this. And it worked for 10 years. You had a decade doing this thing. And so don't look at this as a failure. Look at it as a chapter in your life, because ultimately you did succeed and you learned so much, and you did everything that everybody in corporate America wants to do, which is to go be a startup and go try something and do the best job you can. So anyway, long story short is a lot of lessons there, but the main one was stick to it. There are going to be valleys. You got to get through the valleys. Studies show that the people, it's not about IQ in terms of success. It's about resilience. And when you can get through the valleys and get to the other side and be resilient, you're much more likely to succeed than if you're just a super genius at something and things like that. So that's what I learned in all of that. It was a great lesson, a hard one though.
Great lesson.
Yeah. So many takeaways and so much resemblance of our story.
It's really
wild. We had a business for 8 years, and it tanked on that 8th year. But those experiences, one, we earned a personally earned MBA, and we look at that as a badge of honor, man. Like we went through bad stuff, some really good stuff, but we learned so much. Yep. And it's, the failures really aren't always, they should really be celebrated and looked at as successes if you can reflect on it correctly.
There's a video online right now of Tom Brady, and I came across it the other day, and I wish I'd saved it, but it's him at a speaking gig, and he's talking to somebody in the audience, and have you seen it?
Yes.
Yeah. And it's brilliant. It's just wonderful. And he's sitting there saying, look, it's not about the Super Bowl victories. It's about pushing through the tough times and getting to the other side of that. That's what you don't see on the cover of Sports Illustrated, but it's the reality. And so you guys, me, everybody, we're all sitting around going, okay, it's about grit and determination and, interestingly, humility, which studies are showing the more humble you are, the better, the more likely you are to succeed. And that's counter to what a lot of people talk about is arrogance and, all that. And it's actually resilience and humility. And that combination gets you through an awful lot. If you have that, it's a good thing to have.
When the agency had a soft landing, what was your identity at that moment? I have a follow-up question after that, but what was that?
I love that question, by the way. That's a great question. It was not good. I mean, it was, holy shit, I failed. I'm a loser is what I was feeling. And vulnerable, and every nerve on my body was tingling. It was tough. It was brutal. But in going through, I started the thing talking about probably not the best way to start a podcast interview is, hey, my wife died last year. It's like kill the room. But you guys were kind enough to keep going. But when I was going through the worst of that, a friend said nothing is permanent, and I just remember that. I thought, I'm going to stick with that one. Nothing is permanent, because you'll be on the other side of this. And when you're on the other side of it and living large, that's not permanent either. And that's the secret, is to understand that the peaks nor the valleys are permanent. And you just got to keep that perspective as you go through things.
Sure. And how has your identity shifted today? If I were to answer the question of how would you explain your identity, what would you say?
Yeah. I'm at the stage of my career where there's so much that I've learned and so much wisdom. I mean, let's do air quotes there, but I do, you can't get through life without having some real insights that you want to share with people. So I'm in a very, very fortunate place where I get paid to travel around and to talk to audiences about how to improve their lives, their careers, their lives, everything. And it's been a real blessing. So the identity now has shifted from somebody who was kicked in the teeth. I mean, and again, I had peaks and valleys. So there were times I was feeling king of the world and other times I wasn't. But now it's a little more of this, this kind of perspective of it's all going to be good. It's not an easy ride. You got to saddle up and get ready. But the purpose of life is for you to evolve as a human being. And you only evolve when you go through challenges. You don't evolve when you have an easy ride. And so the challenges are part of the journey, and they're part of the, in a weird way, some of the best parts of the journey.
Yeah. If you can get in the mindset of when you see a challenge coming up, think, oh, let's see how this is going to turn out, because I'm sure I'm going to learn something good, right? Yeah. I mean, and you really just flip that focus and that mindset towards it.
I like that idea, by the way. You see it coming and you're like, all right, I'm ready. Come on, bring it on. We'll do this.
Even just having like crucial conversations that make you nervous and anxious, on the other side, that will be something that you're going to learn from and through it.
It's very true.
Yeah. Well, Jamie, as we kind of wrap things up, if there was one thing that you hope our audience can take away from, if there was something actionable or just one point you really want to drill home, what would that be?
Nothing. I have no actionable insight. So I'm sorry, folks. Sorry to disappoint you, but no, it would be, to kind of summarize the stuff that we talked about today. It's about resilience and humility. And those are the, when Eli was asking me, hey, how do you see yourself these days? And I'm like, I've got all this stuff I want to share that I share through books and interviews and stuff like that. But it really, in the end, the person who walks into the room not thinking they're the smartest, but thinking they're the dumbest is actually the smartest person in the room, because they're walking in a state of humility and openness and saying, I'm here to learn. And so those two things, the action is stay humble and stay resilient. And those two things will get you through all of the things that you're going through as a startup, as a person wanting to develop personally, as a executive trying to run a company, all of those things. And those will get you through an awful lot.
Man. Do you think, I got a quick question. Do you think resilience and humility, do you think that is a trait that is earned through experience? Do you think it's a trait that can be learned over time? How do you think somebody can begin that path of understanding those two traits?
I think as we all go through, and you, Kyle, you talked earlier about, we had a business that kind of went under. And so as you go through life, you get kicked in the teeth. So there's a great line. There's two kinds of people, those who are humble or those who are about to be. Oh, and it really says it all. And you're like, you know what? Guess what? You got a choice. You can either let the world make you humble, or you can decide to be humble and walk into it in a state of openness and kindness and thoughtfulness. And it's counter to what we see on TV sometimes, or what our culture promotes. But the latest studies literally show humility is the secret to long-term success in your career. Is that kindness and humility are much more important than arrogance and grit.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Jamie, for jumping on. If people wanted to connect with you, maybe get one of your books, listen to one of your speeches, all that good stuff, where can they find you and reach out?
Yeah. The best website is jamieturner.live. That has all my speaking stuff. And if you're interested in hiring me as a speaker for that, the other website is unspokenrules.live. And if you're interested in taking a deep dive into the concepts that we talked about today, lot of blog posts, a lot of stuff on there that'll help you. So jamieturner.live and unspokenrules.live are the best places to go.
That's amazing.
Well, thank you, Jamie. We appreciate it, man. That was an awesome conversation.
We'll talk to you in the post chat here.
Thanks, guys.
That was
so awesome, man.
I love talking on those topics. I could talk on them all day long.
We could have had hours of podcasts. Yep. When we go out to his house in Atlanta, we'll hang out on the lake. Yeah.
Georgia.
Yeah.
Well, Austin, thank you so much for joining us here on the Peak Podcast. If you have yet, please subscribe and hit that notification bell. And of course, head on over to peakfulfillment.co if you're interested in a Clarity Solo Retreat and Mastermind program. Until next time, we'll see you soon.
See you guys.